I'm going to tell you that if I hadn't done what I did, I don't know where I'd be today, and you might agree that what I did was completely justified. If you were in my place, would you have treated those people who shamed that poor girl for her gifts the same way? I know, that's a huge question, but when you hear what my ex-friends did to that girl, solely because her gifts were cheap, you'll understand why I put them in their place. It was so shameful and despicable that when I took my revenge, the thought that I did something wrong never even crossed my mind once. This story still bothers me today, which is why I'm sharing it with all of you. I just need to know, was I wrong for exposing those people who believed that having money gave them the right to look down on anyone? Please tell me what you think in the comments. So the story begins in my third year of college. I had a friend group of 4, Aryan, Samir, Riya, and myself. We had been together for almost 3 years, and I thought we knew each other. All 4 of us came from good families, but Riya was slightly richer, and she often flaunted her wealth. Samir and Aryan always followed her around, like they were her shadows. I was a bit different. I didn't always agree with everything they said, but since we had a long history, we remained connected. But the central character in this story is none of us, but a girl named Priya. Priya was new to our batch and came from a small town. She was very good academically, always quiet, and rarely participated in social gatherings. I learned that she came from a very humble background, and even worked part-time to pay for her college fees. Her lifestyle was very simple, and anyone could tell from her clothes or accessories that she wasn't rich. Initially, Riya and her gang ignored her, which I thought was fine because at least they weren't bothering her. But things changed when Riya's 21st birthday arrived. Riya's birthday was always a huge event, a lavish party, expensive gifts, and an endless display of showmanship. This year too, she hosted a party in an expensive banquet hall, where only the crème de la crème were invited. Riya, to show her generosity, invited the entire class, including Priya. I thought that was nice. Maybe Riya had changed a little. But my assumption was quickly proven wrong. Everyone brought Riya expensive gifts, branded handbags, designer watches, the latest gadgets. I remember Aryan gave her a very expensive diamond pendant, and Samir gave her an exclusive foreign perfume set. I gave Riya a nice book, as I knew she loved reading, and yes, it was also slightly expensive, but perhaps less so according to Riya's standards. As the pile of gifts was being opened, the whole room was filled with excitement. Then it was Priya's turn. Priya gave Riya a small, hand-wrapped package. Riya looked at it strangely, as if it were trash, and opened it. Inside was a small, hand-knitted woolen scarf. The scarf was genuinely beautiful, woven with great love, and anyone could tell by the effort put into it that it was very special. But it wasn't branded. When Riya saw the scarf, a strange, disgusted smile came over her face. She waved the scarf in the air and mockingly said, "Wow, Priya! Where did you buy this? From a roadside stall? Or did you knit it yourself? How rustic." Some people in the room laughed, and Riya's 2 lackeys, Aryan and Samir, started laughing loudly. The way they laughed made it seem like they wanted to prove to Riya how much they agreed with her. Priya's face instantly dropped. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she turned red with shame. She quietly said, I knitted it myself, Riya. I thought it would be more personal." Riya rolled her eyes and tossed the scarf onto the pile of gifts, as if it were useless. "Oh, sweetheart. Next time, please don't put in so much effort. I don't like handmade things. They're not up to my standard," she said. Then she looked at Aryan and said, "Aryan, get this out of here. I'm afraid it might touch my other designer things." That whole scene was stunning to me. It wasn't just a scarf. It was Priya's affection, her time, and her best effort. To humiliate her publicly like that, only because she didn't have the money to buy a branded gift, shook me to the core. I watched Priya quietly leave the party without saying a word to anyone. At that moment, I couldn't say anything. I stood there like a coward, watching my friends put down an innocent girl. I still regret that silence today. But that night, a spark ignited in my mind. I decided I would not stay silent. This was not just Riya's birthday. It was a display of the arrogance of those who believe that money gives them the right to crush the self-esteem of others. My mind was starting to rebel. I no longer wanted to be a part of this group. For the next few days, I remained quiet, but I started planning. I knew what Riya, Sameer, and Aryan loved the most. Their image, their facade, and their perfect life on social media. Riya had thousands of followers on Instagram, and she constantly posted pictures of her expensive lifestyle, branded clothes, and parties. All her friends and followers considered her a queen. I thought, if I want to strike at their ego, I have to attack their public image. I quietly started monitoring their social media posts and their conversations. I knew that behind their facade, many dark truths would be hidden. About a week later, another incident occurred that solidified my intentions even further. I was sitting in the canteen and Riya, Sameer, and Aryan were sitting near me. They were talking about Priya, and this time their tone was even more venomous. Riya was saying, "You know, I don't understand why these poor people even come to such big places. They should stay in their lane. That scarf made me sick. Her taste was so bad." Sameer laughed and said, "Yeah man, and imagine she knitted it herself. What a joke. I would have just thrown it away." Aryan said, "These people do all this for attention. Look, I don't have money, but I'm rich at heart." Nonsense. There was no remorse in their conversation, only cruelty and arrogance. Just then, I saw Priya enter the canteen and pass by Riya and her friend's table. Riya deliberately said loudly, "Oh look, Scarf Lady is here. Hopefully, this time she won't feed anyone cheap handmade cake." Priya heard it and her head dropped. She quickly walked towards the other end of the canteen. That was the last straw for me. I felt a cold resolve settle inside me. It wasn't just about Priya anymore. It was about the principle, the sheer audacity of using wealth as a weapon. I began my investigation meticulously. I started with Aryan, who was the most openly boastful about his family's wealth. He always drove a luxury car, claimed his dad owned a chain of major businesses, and often paid the bill for all of us, always making sure everyone noticed. But a few days before Riya's birthday, I'd overheard him on a hush phone call near the library entrance. He sounded stressed, pleading with someone to hold off on the payment for just another week. I dismissed it then, but now it felt relevant. I discreetly accessed some public records. It's surprising what you can find with a little effort and basic hacking skills. What I discovered about Aryan was shocking. His father's major businesses were actually on the brink of bankruptcy. The luxury car was leased and often overdue on payments, which explained the frantic phone call. Aryan was living entirely on borrowed money and a massive facade of wealth to keep up with Riya's expectations. Next was Sameer. Sameer's biggest claim to fame was his supposed connections to influential people and his expensive clothes. He was a notorious cheat, though. I remembered several times during exams when he'd barely managed to pass, and I suspected he was paying someone to write his assignments. I managed to gain access to his cloud account through a common password security loophole he carelessly used for everything. There, I found a folder named Project Help. Inside, I didn't find notes or study material, but detailed email exchanges with a freelance academic writer. Sameer wasn't just paying someone. He was threatening the writer to keep his secret, and the invoices showed he was constantly behind on payments, proving he was also not as financially stable as he pretended. Riya, the queen of the group, was the hardest target. Her family was genuinely wealthy, but her biggest weakness was her obsession with her curated, perfect life. She often posted pictures of elaborate home-cooked meals, claiming she was a culinary genius, and posted pictures with her loving family. But I knew Riya barely knew how to boil water, and her relationship with her parents was extremely strained. They were always away on business, and Riya was mostly alone, craving attention. I used an old-school photo I had of Riya, and did a reverse image search on some of her exclusive trips. I discovered that many of the luxury resort photos she posted weren't recent, and some were even taken from travel blogs. She was passing them off as her own current life. The home-cooked meals? I recognized the plates from a high-end catering service she often ordered from. Her entire social media presence was a complete, calculated lie to maintain her perfect status. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here were these three people, Riya, Aryan, and Sameer, who had publicly humiliated an innocent girl, Priya, solely based on their belief in material wealth and their own superiority. Yet, the foundations of their own lives were built on lies, debt, and fake perfection. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause right now and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have exposed them, or would you have let them get away with their cruel arrogance? Put your answer in the comments right now, because what I did next changed everything. I chose exposure. Complete, public, and undeniable exposure. I waited for the perfect moment. That moment arrived during the college's annual cultural fest, the biggest event of the year, which had the maximum student and faculty attendance, and crucially, a large screen set up for live performances and announcements. I knew Riya and her gang would be there, sitting in the front row, reveling in the attention. I executed my plan right after the main address by the principal, when everyone was getting ready for the musical performance, and the massive projector screen was temporarily dark. Using the information I had gathered, I had created a comprehensive presentation. The title slide was simple: The Price of Pretense, a real-life college drama. I had bribed the tech guy managing the projector, telling him I had a surprise presentation for the student council, and convinced him to step away for a 5-minute break, giving me control over the AV system. As the principal walked off the stage, I quickly plugged my drive into the main system. The screen, which was supposed to show a "Please stand by" message, suddenly flashed my title slide. The music was still loud, so no one noticed the change instantly. But then, I began the slideshow, advancing the slides one by one, with no audio, letting the shocking visuals speak for themselves. The first section was about Aryan. The screen showed his proud Instagram posts next to screenshots of the overdue lease payments for his luxury car, followed by public corporate records showing the massive debt his father's companies were drowning in. The contrast was horrifying. His carefully constructed image of being the rich, playboy heir crumbled instantly. I saw Aryan's face turn ashen white. He was scrambling for his phone, frantically trying to figure out how to stop it. The next slides were dedicated to Samir. I put up screenshots of his A+ assignments next to the threatening emails he sent to the low-paid academic writer, detailing the payment disputes and the sheer volume of work he outsourced. One slide showed a heavily marked-up email from the writer begging him for the outstanding fees. The betrayal of academic integrity and the cruelty to a struggling freelancer were laid bare. Samir suddenly stood up, shouting, but his voice was lost in the confused noise of the crowd. Finally, I hit them with Riya. This was the crescendo. I displayed her flawless Instagram pictures of home-cooked gourmet dishes next to the catering bills with her signature on them. I showed side-by-side comparisons of her exclusive travel photos against the original stock images from travel blogs. The final slide on her segment was the most devastating. A screenshot of her mocking text messages about Priya's scarf, where she called Priya trash and a charity case. This last piece of evidence, relating directly to the public incident everyone remembered, brought the entire story into sharp focus. The entire audience, which was initially confused, suddenly understood everything. A collective gasp rippled through the hall. People started pointing and whispering. I didn't wait around. I pulled the USB drive out and disappeared into the crowd as the music director finally realized what was happening and cut the screen to black. The damage, however, was done. The perfect images they had spent years cultivating had been destroyed in less than 3 minutes, not with harsh words, but with irrefutable proof. The aftermath was exactly what I expected, and frankly what they deserved. The college administration launched an immediate investigation. Samir was the first to fall. The evidence of academic fraud was too clear to ignore, and he was promptly suspended for a semester. Aryan's situation became public knowledge. His father's business creditors saw the public display of his wasteful lifestyle, and within weeks his family's already precarious financial situation worsened significantly as they pulled back support. He had to drop out to find work. Riya faced the most severe social consequences. Her thousands of followers turned on her overnight. She was mercilessly trolled. People started posting pictures of scarves and tagging her, calling her the fake gourmet queen. Her parents were summoned by the college and were furious, not about her cruelty, but about the embarrassment to their family name. Her perfect facade shattered, Riya became a social outcast. No one wanted to be associated with her toxic mix of arrogance and dishonesty. I formally ended my association with them, not with a confrontation, but simply by walking away. As for Priya, she was initially shocked, but when she understood what had happened, she approached me quietly. She didn't thank me with fanfare, but with genuine emotion. She simply said, "You didn't just stand up for me. You stood up for anyone who has ever been made to feel less than because they don't have money." That was all the validation I needed. She started opening up, made new, genuine friends, and went on to top the class that year. She never had to fear their casual cruelty again. The moral of the story is simple but often forgotten. The most expensive thing you own is your integrity, not your possessions. People who use money to make others feel small are often the smallest people of all, hiding behind a mountain of debt and lies. Their power is only as strong as your silence. I learned that standing up for what is right, even when it means sacrificing a long-standing friendship, is the truest test of character. So, I leave you with this story and the initial question: was I wrong for what I did? Let me know your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. Like this video if you were on my side and believe everyone should be held accountable for their cruelty. And please, subscribe for more stories like this where justice finds its way, no matter how clever the villains think they are. I'll see you all in the next story.